Most composers will tell you that their music comes from an emotional place. Frustration, joy, sadness, fear, anger, love. So where does this come from?
Live a chaste and virtuous life.
The university will respond to student behavior rather than to feelings or orientation. Advocacy of a homosexual lifestyle, whether implied or explicit, or any behaviors that indicate homosexuality.
This is Composer's Cadenza from the Second Street Dreams Audio Network. I'm Judlin Gibson. This virtuoso solo passage features composer Blake Allen talking about his latest album, The Shards of an Honor Code Junkie.
We are all so thrilled you have decided to give commitment to the university. We and the Lord give you many thanks. After all, the world...
Allen, a former Mormon who grew up mostly in El Paso, Texas, calls this an American opera oratorio meets storybook album, an autobiographical story of a homosexual Mormon. Welcome, Blake Allen, to Composer's Cadenza. What is The Shards of an Honor Code Junkie about?
My experience being raised in the Mormon church, the LDS church, and then going to their university, Brigham Young University, and through my traumas of that experience and my friend dying by suicide, coming out on the other side with self-love and self-acceptance. I chose to go to Brigham Young University because they have I got my degree there in viola performance, and it's such a good program there, and they actually have in their library the largest collection of viola music. It's called the Primrose Library. So there's this wonderful heritage that I wanted. So I chose to go there because of that. Yes, the Mormon aspect was part of that decision, and my parents were happy, and I got a scholarship and all those things. But the main reason I chose there from somewhere else was because of this music heritage.
It must have been difficult for you to try to find a place.
Correct. It was a very difficult transition, because when I'm in high school and things, underneath my parents' guidance and parents' eyes, I lived a life kind of trying to make them as happy as possible. And that meant trying to get straight A's in school, being the best little religious child possible. And so when I went to the School of Music out in BYU, I was away from my parents for the first time. So I was allowed to kind of understand and start to learn who I was. But still at that point, the rules of the honor code, that's the BYU honor code. So even though they're part of the Mormon church, they have their own little rules. So I'm following these rules. And then, I was raped my first weekend I was there, and then that caused all this trauma, then got in trouble. I talked to my ecclesiastical leader about being raped, and then it was my fault, which is usually the case, right? And so through all of that, what it was like being a homosexual while following the rules, and then when my friend decided to kill themselves over this kind of conundrum, that's when I switched and said, it's a matter of life and death. I have to choose my life and choose what's going to make me happy. And that's when I started leaving the church the best way possible. But in order to graduate, I had to kind of play by their rules until I got the certificate,
Mohos, Mormon homosexuals.
After finding a gay mecca in the great city of
Salt Lake City,
Boy met a man who invited him to a party.
I went to that party.
The boy said,
And this party let me exhale for the first time. My lungs were no longer stale with a claustrophobic life.
Do you trust me?
The man asked, and as Boy nodded, man pulled out 4 pills, telling the boy to take 2 now, 2 later.
What are these?
The man slowly puts 2 pills into Boy's mouth, guiding him to slowly swallow.
What's gonna happen?
Relax.
What would you call this? Is this an opera? Is this a musical?
Well, that's exactly right. It's that gray area between opera and musical theater. I always say it's opera subject matter and opera tendency using musical theater voices.
Wagon, barren, parking lot, a bouncer greeting me. Go, sweating, flashing lights. It's quite intense. How did I get here? Take two, 1, 2, 2, 1, to take no more, to pop. Please make it stop. I'm lost.
I started writing it as a form of therapy for myself to kind of navigate. I was already living in New York at the time, so trying to like navigate what all those feelings were. And then through the development, yes, it's been, so what was that, 9 years of development? And through the course of developing it, I kind of wanted to turn it from a piece that overcomes my trauma to kind of help other people overcome their own traumas.
Never guess, time will tell. Give in your spirit, trust me, you'll feel it. Don't stress, time will tell. Feel it, we're slowing, show me you're growing. We're folding, you're molding, so take it like a man. A man. Now we are stripping whilst you are slipping. Don't flinch, exhale and melt. Banish your spirit, you no longer need it. Never clench, exhale and melt.
What's been the reception for the album?
The reception's been great. I always said that I wrote this album to help at least one person in the darkness find some light within themselves. If this saves one person from dying by suicide, it was all worth it. So within the first week, I had 14 students who are currently students at BYU reach out and thank me. I've had some previous faculty members just like have that positive response. So I think that that's really important, and it's getting a lot of streaming in Utah. But we went #1 on the Amazon classical charts. We were #2 on the iTunes classical charts. We were the top charting new cast album on Billboard. So there's been this like overwhelmingly surprising and positive response to it, which I'm very grateful for.
You said surprising. A surprising response.
Yeah, it's surprising because I think, the hook in the back of my mind, I was like, what's going to happen? It's going to be this a quiet kind of piece that no one's going to dare touch because it's so sensitive. But I think because of that, and you said it earlier that it's like very personal. I think people are latching on to the personal aspect of it. And it's yes, the story is about a gay person going to BYU, but I think it's applicable to anyone who has experienced trauma, how they can like look within to find their light. So that's what's surprising about it.
Heavenly Father, you say you
Blake Allen, his composition, The Shards of an Honor Code Junkie. Some of the voices you heard were Tori Scott, Allison Fraser, Michael Lowney, J. Harrison Gee, and Isaac Faman Reynolds. The album was produced by No Reverse Records. Links to all are on the Stories of Interest page on SecondStreetDreams.com. We are the Second Street Dreams audio network on the radio and on the www on SecondStreetDreams.com. Thank you for listening. I'm Judelyn Gibson.